What's up YouTube? It's Hair Jordan. Today is gonna be the first video in a new series that I'm trying where I actually give some advice. Sometimes I get questions from you guys asking about creative things like how to start a band, how to start a YouTube channel, stuff that I've done. So I thought I might as well go in depth and share some of the stuff I've learned. And so this is the first video, how to start a band. If you didn't know, before I did YouTube, I was in a bunch of bands. I still do music, but I played in a lot of local bands back in Indiana. I went to shows all the time, did some tours, nothing big or crazy, but I did it a lot though, and I played a lot of shows with my friends. So this is something I definitely have experience with, and I would love to share some of the things that I know that a couple of you have asked me to talk about, so let's do this. If you have any questions for me about other creative things, leave one in the comment section, and if it's something that I actually know about, maybe I'll make a video on it. Okay, so starting a band. The first thing you gotta do, and I mean this in all seriousness, I'll be quick about it because some of you are past this step, but seriously, the first thing you gotta do if you wanna start a band or join a band is you gotta know how to play something, and you gotta be kind of good. You don't want to be that guy, and there are lots of these guys who just goes around telling everyone, we should start a band, dude. Meanwhile, they have no idea how to play anything, or if they do know how to play something, they're not very good at it, and they're kind of waiting on someone else to like get good with them, like practice together. That doesn't work. You gotta practice and you gotta get good. When I joined my first band, I had been playing guitar for a couple of years, but I was still not that good. Because when I practiced, I was lazy about it. I kind of just played stuff that was easy, that I already knew how to play, and so I played guitar all 4 years of high school, not for the school or anything, just in my parents' basement. And when I showed up to the first audition to join a real band, just a local band, like I sucked. And then I realized, holy crap, I really suck. So when you practice your instrument, and it doesn't even matter if you're gonna play bass or guitar or drums, whatever, just pick something or even sing, pick something and get reasonably good at it. What do I mean by being reasonably good? Do you know any covers? Like what style of music do you want to play? What do you want your band to be like? There's other bands, I'm sure, that influence you. Learn how to play a couple of their songs, like covers. Learn the basic chords and scales. Do you know how to play any scales? I didn't. I knew how to play lots of chords, bar chords, woo, on the guitar, but I did not know how to play scales, and it blew my mind at how much there is to learn. So guitar, piano, bass, whatever, just Google scale, like Google guitar scales to learn. And there's some that are really common and other ones that are more tricky, like as you get more advanced, but at least learn the basic ones. This will take you so far. When I showed up to try to get into this band, just local band, somebody I had met who said they were starting a band and needed a guitar player, I showed up and I tried to play a cover song that I had learned like 2 days earlier because I didn't really know any cover songs. I could play it pretty well at home by myself, but I got nervous trying to play in front of other people, in front of them, and I kept messing up and I couldn't even play the cover song. And they were just kind of like not impressed, and they were like, well, we need a bass player. Why don't you play bass? Because bass is easy and you're not really good enough to play guitar with us, but you're good enough to play bass. So one of them had a spare bass that I borrowed. I ended up buying my own, but I picked up the bass and started playing it, and it was like, okay, yeah, good enough. So I played bass and it was fine. It was not a big deal. I was in the band then, but I learned that, wow, I really was not as good at guitar as I thought. Looking back, it's kind of embarrassing that I even showed up being that not good. But I think that's a problem a lot of people have. There's so many people that are not that great and they don't realize it. So get really good, like practice. You need to practice more than you think you do. And practice like specifically, like if you're messing up on this one part of a cover song or this one riff, focus on that one part you keep messing up on and just do it over and over and over again. You gotta do this on your own. You gotta learn how to play your instrument on your own. If you think that you join a band and the only time you practice is when you're with the band, that's totally wrong. You gotta be playing all the time. The second thing you need to do if you wanna get in a band or start a band is to get involved locally. There's probably concerts happening around your area. Not big concerts, definitely not stadium concerts. I mean small local bands who play, who live probably in the same town that you live, and they're probably playing some rundown, dinky little place that isn't that cool looking from the outside and probably crappy on the inside too, but that's where it happens. Find some local bands in your area that you like, that's the style of music at least similar to what you want to play, or at least young people. I don't mean like old people cover bands. I mean like young people just playing shows or playing house shows. Where I grew up was in Indiana, and there was nothing. Right? There's just like farmlands and factories and that's it. There's nothing else. But once I got into the music scene, I realized there was a huge local music scene that I didn't even know existed before. There were concerts like every weekend somewhere. You just had to kind of get involved. Like when you see a local concert or someone from your high school or college is playing, go. Even if it's not particularly the type of music that you like, go anyway. Because chances are there will be people there that do like what you like, and you could start meeting people. Like if you just meet 1 or 2 people every time you go to a concert. I used to go to a local small show every Friday and every Saturday night, because there was always one. Sometimes they were at people's houses, sometimes they were at a church, which is weird, but they let people put on concerts there. And sometimes there were actual venues, but those never lasted long in Indiana because I don't know why. It never really worked. But there was always music being played somewhere. And once I started going, I was hooked. Like I always wanted to be at the concerts. And so that's what I did. And I started making a lot of friends that way. And that's why I was able to play in so many bands, like not all at the same time, but like after I joined my first band, it was kind of like the first people that I had met who were really making music and looking to add someone to their band. It was just a dude playing guitar and a drummer, and they needed a third person, which was me. But I didn't care for the music that much. I wanted to play something a little heavier. But once we started playing shows, I started meeting other people and hearing other local bands, and I was like, holy cow, I had no idea that all these bands existed. And so I quit my band and was just kind of keeping an eye out for other people who wanted to start a band with me. And eventually I did. And it was because I was so involved locally. And that's also how we started getting booked. We did not play, like most of my bands did not play at legit music venues. It was just people who knew us would hit us up and be like, hey, we're doing a concert at this warehouse or in this parking lot or in this kid's basement. Like, next weekend, do you want to play? That's how most of it was. And it was awesome, right? It was so cool. And there's no way that you could have like applied for those kind of gigs on Gig Masters or whatever resources they have online. It was just because we were involved in the local scene. We played shows a lot, as much as we could, and when we weren't playing shows, we went to other shows. That's right, we went, we paid the $10 cover fee just to see local bands. A lot of them weren't that good every Friday and every Saturday. So it's like, I mean, you're spending 20 bucks a week if you go every Friday and every Saturday. It's worth it. I mean, it was worth it for me because I loved it. I loved the music scene. One band I joined just for a little bit with some friends that I knew. You know, I was always hanging out with them at concerts, and they were trying to record some songs, but they couldn't really record it at any of their houses. My parents lived out in the country, and so they didn't care about noise. It wasn't an issue, and so I was like, why don't you guys come over to my place and just bring all your instruments and record there. And so it was just gonna be like a home recording. And so they did, and they had some practice sessions there too. And that's when I joined the band, because they kind of needed like a keyboard player, and they were talking about it, and I was just hanging out there while they practiced. So I was like, I'll do it. I'll play. And they were like, oh, you play keys or something? I don't know. And so I tried it, and it was like, perfect. And so then I was just in the band for a little while, just because I was always hanging out. There was another one too that I was always hanging out with, because they were some friends of mine, and I went to like every single one of their shows, and you know, we're just always hanging out. And then their vocalist, their screamer, is a metal band. Their screamer couldn't make a couple of shows. I don't remember what his deal was. And so they asked me to fill in, because I already knew like all their songs. And so I did. And so I was in the band for a couple of shows, and then it turns out their vocalist wasn't gonna come back to the band. And so they were like, well, you could just be our new vocalist if you want. There you go. Just like be prepared, like be ready, be good at your thing. And I wasn't hanging out with them to try to join their band. I actually said no, because I was working on some other music, and I just didn't have time to do 2 music projects. I was just hanging out with them because I liked their music, and they were my friends, you know? And so when you do that, lots of opportunities start to come. But that's not the only way that you can find band members. Another thing you can do, and I definitely recommend this is actually probably a better method, is to post something online. Like get really good at one thing. Guitar, bass, whatever your thing is, drums, keys, vocals. Just get good at one thing and learn a cover song in the genre that you're wanting to start a band in. And just make a video of yourself playing that cover song and post it online. Post it, like make a SoundCloud or YouTube and just post it of just you playing it. It doesn't have to be like recorded professional or anything. That's not the point. The point is showing that you can actually play a song, try to do your best, like practice it a lot. Then when other people, maybe even locally, who are looking to start a band come across it, they'll be like, oh, this person actually has some potential. They're talented and they're looking to join a band. Or maybe they don't even know if you're wanting to join a band. They might just ask you. But that's a great way to put yourself out there, is make a cover song or 2. When you do that, I think another thing that I should point out is to pay attention to how you look. Like this gets overlooked a lot in the local scene, I've noticed. What do the bands that influence you look like? Like, how do they dress? How do they do their hair? All that stuff. Pay attention to those things, and then look at yourself in the mirror or look at pictures of yourself online and be like, do I even fit? Like, this is what you want. You want to be in this genre of music, right? Do you look like you could possibly fit there? Or are you always just wearing like gym clothes and pajama pants? I don't know. Just get like one good outfit that fits with the genre of music you want to make and wear that whenever you like film a cover song or go to a concert or something. That way you kind of like look, trust me, if you are a talented musician and you look the part as well, that's a lot harder to find than you would think in most local scenes. Another thing you want to do if you're really wanting to start a band or join a band, write some material. You don't have to like write a bunch of great hit songs, but just have something written. If it's a couple riffs or some lines of lyrics or anything, if you can write a whole song, that is great. Lots of the bands I've been in have reused material, either from previous bands that somebody's been in or stuff that just somebody wrote. And so they bring it up and be like, yeah, I wrote this song like a while ago, but here's the chords, here's the lyrics, like let's just go with it. That is a great way. The first band I joined had 3 songs already written that the singer dude had written. He had the guitar chords and he had wrote the lyrics, and that was it. The drummer just played along and I played the bass along, and it was easy to learn those 3 songs. And then from there we started writing stuff together, but we had 3 songs to go out the box, and that was super simple. So if you can, write some material, but don't worry about that right out the gate. Like, first, just learn your instrument well. Learn some cover songs, learn some riffs, right? This is important. It's important to know what a good riff is in your genre. It's important to know the basics, not so that you can just copy and sound exactly like them, but so that you can understand. Like, you can have a good grasp on, okay, this is how they play it. Or if you learn a bunch of cover songs of the same band that you really like, you could start learning, okay, so they typically write their songs this way. Like, you start figuring out their song structure is probably gonna be the same for a lot of their songs. Not just one band, but most bands in that genre. Or you'll start to learn, okay, usually in the choruses, they play the guitar like this, and usually in the verses, they play the guitar like this. And that's gonna be pretty general. Like, most songs of the same genre are like that. Sometimes people say certain genres always sound the same, and sometimes it's a little true, and sometimes there's a reason for it. So learn the reason for it. 1, then you'll have a basic idea of how to make that style of music, but 2, once you master that style of music, you can learn how to improve on it, which will help you break out of the box, right? Learning what stereotypical pop punk sounds like doesn't mean you're gonna be a stereotypical pop punk guitar player. No, it means you'll have a full understanding of it, and then you could make improvements and you could push the genre forward in a new way that nobody's done before, right? But if you don't even have a basic understanding, you'll just do whatever, and then you'll probably end up falling into the same categories as everybody else. So get good and learn your stuff. So that's all for this video. Leave a comment, let me know if you have a question for me that you'd like for me to answer, and if I know something about it, maybe I will. Also, leave any of your thoughts in the description down below if you have any advice to add or a story of your own to tell. If you're in a band, you were in a band, you tried and failed miserably several times, maybe I did, lots of failures. It happens, it's part of the process. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching, bye.